Hey, hi, hello there. Welcome to my car. We have to record for my car, sorry. And I'm really nervous to record for my car because I don't want you guys to not take this seriously, but at the same time, this is what I got. I'm sorry. So I want to go over, okay, how to put this. Hi, I'm an anthropologist. I'm an archaeologist, retired. If you've been watching my channel since the last month or so, you will know that I'm trying to watch Amber. Well, I like watching Amber, but I try to kind of look at her through an anthropological lens, but I also have my opinions. So what I want to do in these next 3, possibly 4 videos is I want to actually do analysis of the 15 days of uploading. And to do that, I'm going back over the videos from those 15 days, and I'm putting together a list of topics that I thought were interesting and I wanted to kind of go over with a little bit more detail. So, I guess the rest of the disclaimer should be not a doctor, not a therapist, not a dietitian, not a whatever. I'm an anthropologist. This is going to be a very quick and dirty anthropological analysis. This is not something that I would A, present at a conference, or B, try to publish in a paper. It is, however, using what I know and what I was taught to look at and analyze Amberlynn. All right. So if you see me looking down, it's because I have notes down here. Because I are a professional. I are take notes. All right. So first things first, my methods. Other than I've watched all these videos and I have my own eyeballs and personal opinions therein of my eyeballs, yes. What I did was I took the raw transcripts from Amber's videos and I put them through ChatGPT. And now the reason I'm using Chat is because A, it's a great tool, and B, Chat cuts down a lot of the monotonous part of the work. If I had done this by myself, you wouldn't see this until December at the absolute earliest, okay? It takes forever because that's just the nature of the beast. But with Chat, I'm able to interrogate it and get it to do things for me. Does that make sense? That I basically then just have to kind of go through and just kind of fact check and just kind of make sure they're not just being pulled out of the ether, which it will do. So you can't take anything just straight. All right. But I was giving it direct information and I was giving it directives. So first with Chat, I took the raw transcripts and just fed it into Chat and said, analyze these. And it did. The analysis that it was giving me made a picture of a woman who is open, emotionally available, connected with her audience, supportive and supported, and who was documenting their struggles with weight loss and in general vlogging their everyday life. And it kept thinking that she had some kind of monetization of, what's it called? Sponsorships. She does not, and I had to correct it on that. You see what I'm talking about? It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And it's also as close as you can really get to something that's non-biased because it does not have an opinion. It's an AI. I can't even make it have an opinion. It won't do it. I've tried. Not on this. But so after I let it just kind of analyze Amber from the raw transcripts, I then gave it some more information. I told it that she was a 600-pound food addict who eats on camera for pleasure and for supposedly adult content, and likes to do mukbangs. I then told it that she has a hostile relationship with a large portion of her audience. And I told it that she has been caught in several various lies and that she's also been caught mimicking other YouTuber content creators and passing that content off as her own original content. I could say that word a few more times. So after providing it with that information, because I feel like that information is accurate and pertinent, the story or the analysis that chat did changed somewhat. All right. Chat's always going to try to stay neutral, which is fine. So when it would still say, this is what I see in the transcript. Remember, it's just working off the transcripts, and that's the raw ones. I haven't gone in and edited them or anything. So it's getting that, but then it'll also have a little bit of insight into, if given this, then we would expect this behavior from the audience, or this kind of reaction to said behavior. And it would refer to, like the mukbangs and the hostility between Amber and the audience, the mistrust the audience has with Amber. So it acknowledged these parameters that I gave it without condemning, being condemning of Amber, because again, it can't have opinions. All right, not yet. Give it a few more years. That being said, the only opinion that is present is mine, because I am the human in this relationship. So because there's a ton of information here, because there's 15 days, I decided to break this up into 3 different videos. We're going to do days 1 through 5 in 6 through 10 in video 2, and then 11 through 15 in the 3rd video. I think I'm going to do a 4th video if there's things that need to be clarified, or if people have comments about topics that they didn't see me cover and they think I might want to. You can put all that down in the comments section. I'm not saying I'm going to do every suggestion or any of the suggestions that are put down there. However, I do read the comments, and if you take the time to put them down, and if they resonate, I might consider it. What I'm more concerned about is if there seems to be a point that I tried to make that didn't come out very clear, and I want to make sure that I can clarify things, because I don't want people to take the wrong idea away from these videos. All right, that being said, the 5 videos that we're going to go over in this one are, where are we? What I ate today on Weight Watchers Day 1, binging update, Target haul, and negative thoughts, cook with me, making mistakes, and what is wrong with my lung, meet Mellow Len, reflecting about life, and I fell and hurt myself, done with Weight Watchers, and best ice cream ever. Clearly, we gave up on Weight Watchers. All right? So those are the 5 videos we're going to go over in this video. Yes. This is not a reaction video, okay? I'm going to go over patterns of behavior that I saw and the larger implications of that. Yeah, I'm running out of words is what the problem is. This is like the 3rd time I've recorded this. 3rd time's the charm. Seems to be anyway. All right, so what I want to go over first is a kind of a bunch of things. Cultural performance and digital persona. Her cultural performance and her digital persona. I want to go over her emotional availability and authenticity. I want to go over community engagement, her fan culture, and the support she receives from the community. So, because I think all of these things go together. They all go together. So, cultural performance is, very quickly, cultural performance is the thing that you do when you're out with a group of people. All right, I know this sounds fancy, and it also sounds reductive, but it's quick and dirty. Some of you might know what code switching is. This is basically where this would fit. When I'm out with a group of my male friends, I'm going to behave differently than when I'm out with a group of my female friends, and vice versa. People who come from multicultural families typically behave one way with one side of the family and behave a different way with the other side of the family. It's not a negative thing. It's a thing we all do. Like I said, it can be as simple as these are your childhood friends that you hung out with and grew up with, And this is your professional work friends. You're going to behave differently depending on the group you're with. Your digital persona, or the concept of a persona, is the face you put forward when you're in these different situations. So you're performing your words. You are performing your persona. Okay? When you are at work, you want to be perceived a certain way, so you put on your work persona. When you are out with a new boyfriend that you haven't, you guys are still in the honeymoon phase, you're putting on that persona, that performance. It's unintentional for most people. It's not necessarily disingenuous. And it's actually a coping mechanism. And we'll get to that, or a survival mechanism. And we'll get to that when we talk about mirroring and mimicking, because both of those are, again, survival mechanisms. Those are the definitions of cultural performance. And we're focusing on her digital persona. This is a term chat came up with. Basically, it's talking about her online persona, is what it means. So the persona that she puts into her videos. Videolyn. Which also comes down to her authenticity. All right. So the problem that can arise with cultural performance and putting on a persona is the possibility that you might be perceived as being fake, or at least that's what we used to call it. That whole, you're coming off as being, disingenuous. You're saying and doing all the right things, but you're not doing it for the right reasons. Does that make sense? So, for example, Amber tries to make herself relatable in her videos. So she uses a lot of informal language, and her tone is informal as well. There's a difference between language and tone. They go together, but they are separate things. My tone right now is the same tone that I use when I'm lecturing or when I'm doing a podcast, because this is a pacing that is easy to understand. My voice isn't all over the place. I'm not shrieking like a small child. I'm understandable at this point. And this is the persona I put on when I'm doing something just like this. All right. But for me, it's very natural, because this is, A, how I was taught to do this in college, and B, this is just where I settle when I'm doing this kind of a thing. Amber shops for personality traits, and Amber shops for, I guess, persona traits as well. People have noticed this particularly with her speech patterns when she picks up different accents depending on who she's dating, or she picks up certain speech patterns depending on who she's hanging out with, not necessarily dating, but hanging out with. People have tried to use it as like a predictive bellwether with her, or to tell when she's seeing or hanging out with a new person that we haven't met yet. So it's something that is reliable enough with her that we can use it kind of as a predictive model. But I'm not entirely sold on how accurate that can be. Amber doesn't show us her permanent aspects quite so blatantly. You kind of have to be around and observant to pick up on it. Some of them are just straight out right there in front of your face, but we'll get to those, I think. So that's where the language stuff comes in. And it's not just the way she says certain words, like when she's trying to put on that fake Southern accent that she's got, and she's just constantly putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable when she's trying to do it. It's annoying. And she does it in specific moments that are usually non-flattering for people with a Southern accent. So with the switching and the using of various accents to make herself more relatable, she also uses slang a lot. Things like, ums and ahs. the word like every 5 seconds. No one does that. She also, the whole, yes, I did, and yes, she did. That's a speech pattern thing that I'm noticing. It seems to be a very youthful online kind of a thing. I don't hear people talking that way in public, but I don't hang out with teenagers. So it's, I mean, maybe that's how teenagers talk. I don't know. I don't have teenagers either. So if that's how your kids talk or the kids that you're around talk, let me know. It does seem that she's picked up on very youthful words and tries to use them. I don't feel like they come off very genuine because they feel forced and they feel like it's like when she says y'all, she's using it, it's basically correct, but it's not natural and it's kind of off, if you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm putting down, picking up what I'm putting down. But that is an effort of hers, A, to create that persona, and B, to be relatable to her audience. Her audience seems to be in one of two age categories. They're either very young, I want to say mid-teens to mid-20s, or they appear to be late teens till mid-30s, which would be the demographics of my group. And the reason I say that is most of her critics fall into that late teens to mid-30s group, because most of you, I share a lot of you with some of the other reaction channels, and that's the age category y'all fall into. I know that's a big spread. I mean, I realize that covers, 3 decades, but that's just how YouTube breaks it down. Apparently, the rest, that's the only group of people that matter. The rest of us are just kind of outliers. But Amber, just judging by the way she talks and the way she acts, because you have to keep in mind the way she carries herself, presents herself, acts and moves, all these kind of things, like the baby talk, that kind of stuff. It's all important to that persona that she keeps putting forward. And I don't want to keep harping on this for too long, but these visual cues are unfortunately not things that chat can pick up on, because they're visual cues. Chat doesn't have eyeballs. Not yet. Give it time. So, okay. So because of this, and because of her being able, and because she switches and borrows and drops things so quickly and so unnaturally, again, comes off as fake, which causes mistrust in her audience. Okay. So if you were someone that joined her channel in the era where she was being very folksy and very y'all-y and very southern, then you might have identified with her in that, because you see a lot of your cultural aspects there in her, right? So then she switches and she becomes displaced New York City girl, and she starts being more clipped with her speech, and she starts being more her aesthetic changed, did a hard change when she started dating Feline, but it's very much that clean, there's a word I want to use and I can't think of it, but the clean, very whitewashed, very black, white, gray, with tiny pops of color, kind of an aesthetic that gets associated with upper town New York a lot in things like television and magazines and that kind of stuff. Like, it's very metropolitan, I guess, is where I'm going. But if you see her making that switch from, Bath and Body and, how to put this, the Bath and Body candles and, oh, they smell so good, and, her down homesy kind of aesthetic that she had, she had the prairie woman's plates and that kind of stuff. Like, it was very country, as country as she could get, and not actually go country all the way. Anyway, she switched from that aesthetic to the other aesthetic, to the New York aesthetic. And if you were somebody that joined her and identified with the folksy aesthetic, and then she does this very hard, very sudden shift after she moved Feline in and Becky left, it could be shocking to you, and it might cause you to have distrust in her because you came to know her in this one aspect, and now she's shifted over to this other aspect. It was very sudden, very quick, and it can be shocking to the system, and it can cause you to not trust her because which one's the real one? Were you really folksy, or are you really New Yorky? All right. I hope you guys are understanding how I'm saying that. I'm not bashing New York. I only live 4 hours from it. I don't have a lot of room to talk. I will bash New Jersey, though, just because apparently that's what you do when you live in Philly. I think it's required by law. Sorry. All right. She also likes to present herself as being like a supportive friend to her audience a lot of times, but then she'll turn around and yell at her audience. So these two mixed signals can lead to issues as well, because on one hand, she's like, oh, I'm your big sister. Come to me if you need advice. Let me show you the things that I do and the things that I use and the things that I eat because I think you might like them too. Let me give you my personal views and my reviews on books and movies and clothes and all this other stuff. We'll get to the consumerism in a minute. But, you know, this is me being your big sister and giving you all this advice, you know, this kind of stuff. And this is how you put your eyeliner on and that kind of stuff. And then she'll turn around and she'll be like, you're the reason, you, the audience, are the reason why I binge and the reason why I eat unhealthy food and the reason why I don't want to brush my hair this morning. So you get sucked in from like the love bombing, basically. You get sucked in with that. And then you get smacked across the face being told that it's your fault that she's in the condition she's in. And a lot of people don't like that. So a lot of people will react poorly to that. And so again, creates animosity between her and her audience. And it also makes her look disingenuous, unauthentic, and fake. All right. This also feeds into Amber desperately wants to be a mentor to her audience, especially to the younger people in her audience. At the same time that Amber is like very emotionally, in my opinion, very emotionally underdeveloped, she also desperately wants to be somebody's big sister, somebody's mentor. She wants to help. She really does want to help people. She wants to be a mentor. She's just not good at it. And I think part of that is Amber was, in my opinion, Amber was never mentored herself. Like, she never had that in her life. She never had like a stable figure, apparently, of any variety, especially a stable female figure. It's very important to people to have someone they can identify with in their lives who is a stable, a stable mentor. I keep repeating that. I don't feel like Amber ever had that, so she doesn't know how to be one, but she wants to be one to other people. And of course, she has, in my opinion, a parasocial relationship with her audience. She views them as her actual friends, among other things. And so she wants to mentor her audience. And some of them probably go with it. Again, if you don't know the history and you run into this, you might actually be like, oh, wow, yeah, she's got a whole lifetime of experience that maybe I can learn something from. And then she does weird things and you're just like, I don't want to do that. So there's that kind of a thing. Again, creates mistrust, makes her look unauthentic, and so on. All right, so now we're going to talk about mimicking and mirroring, which is something that I've talked about a lot in my videos, but haven't really gone into in depth with them. So mimicking and mirroring in anthropology they're human behaviors where, best way to explain these, most of you probably understand what I'm talking about, but these are fundamental human interactions. They occur when we socialize. Think of when you see somebody yawn and then you yawn back because you saw that person yawn. It's very difficult, like even thinking about it, it's very difficult to see that happen and not mirror that behavior. It's actually called a mirror neuron that makes you do that. Most people. If you don't sympathize or identify with the person who's doing the action, you can usually either override or not even perform the action. You have to feel some kind of connection with them for it to affect you. Mimicking and mirroring are ways for us to be part of a group, for us to assimilate into a group. I call them survival mechanisms or survival behaviors, because if you think about a situation like, I don't know, let's go back to high school. And you didn't want to get picked on in high school, so you decided you're going to be one of the cool kids. So to be one of the cool kids, you got to dress like the cool kids, you got to talk like the cool kids, you got to do your hair like the cool kids, you got to do the things the cool kids do. So sometimes you take up smoking, sometimes you start drinking in the back alleys, sometimes you're wearing a particular shade of red on your lips, or the whale tail was a big thing when I was a kid. Like, all the little teeny boppers wanted to wear whale tails and kept getting yelled at school for it. And it's just like, why do you want a piece of dental floss that far up your ass? But whatever. But it's that kind of behavior. I didn't identify with that group. I didn't want to be with that group. So I didn't do the whale tail, but a lot of girls did, because it was their identity, and that was the group they wanted to be identified with. Okay, so they're mimicking and mirroring each other. Usually you can find one leader or two leaders in that group. Whether they're the leader or not, they are the trendsetter, basically. And when they're the trendsetter, obviously they're setting a trend. We mimic, we mirror, we follow the trend if that's something that we want, right? It becomes a survival mechanism when you're in a situation where if you stand out, you're going to be ostracized. Think back to way back in the day with religious groups like the Pilgrims and stuff. If you didn't conform to that religious group, you were ostracized, which meant you were pushed out of the group and had to go live in the wilderness by yourself, and you had to farm and live and do all of that crap by yourself without the support of the community, because you're no longer part of the community. Okay, that is effectively a death sentence in most situations. So your best bet is to conform, and you do that through mimicking and mirroring. All right. Now, going back to Amber doing it. The problem that happens with mimicking and mirroring is it comes off as unauthentic and disingenuous, especially when you're doing it wrong. Wrong's the wrong word, but if you're doing it and it seems off to the people that you're mimicking and mirroring, it makes you look fake. Amber is not good at this. And so Amber comes off as fake to the people that she's trying to impress by doing these behaviors. For example, if you're let's come to the modern day. If you're starting a YouTube channel or you're trying to bolster a YouTube channel, you might look around to other channels that are doing better than you that are in the same category. Let's say everyday vlogging, which is what Amber would like to be. So she looks at other people who do lifestyle vlogging and she's like, okay, they do X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Here's where Amber has her problem. Instead of saying, I saw Happy Sparkles do this thing and I want to do it too, she just does the thing, tries to pass it off as her own little kind of goofy thing. And if you don't follow Happy Sparkles, you may not know that she's copying Happy Sparkles. It doesn't matter if I'm poorly pronouncing someone's YouTube name because it's a hypothetical anyway. When and if you do find out that that's what has happened, and you go and you watch the original version of it, and then you compare it to Amber's version of it, it's usually very cringy, poorly done, and the simple fact that she did it without giving credit is kind of frowned upon in today's age. especially in today's digital age where it's really easy to rip people off. It's considered poor social behavior to do that. You're supposed to effectively cite your sources, okay? Does everyone do it? No. And when they don't do it and they get found out about it, a lot of people will call them out for it or say, why didn't you? All right? And that's what happens. Amber does things. Most infamously right now, during the 15 days, was that stupid string. That was like day 2, I think it was. That stupid purple string. Great. That stupid purple string. And she's like, oh my God, you guys. Oh, I'm so mad at myself. Oh, it's so terrible. Then to find out that that's a direct ripoff from another YouTuber who, like, it's not even like she wore a shirt that also had one of those strings and also put it forward so that, I mean, she totally posed that. That was completely made up. It's not even that she did that. She literally wore the exact same color of shirt. Like, the shirt damn near looked identical to the shirt that the other YouTuber had been wearing when this actually happened to her. All right? So that's the one that I caught her in, that I personally caught her doing. There are others that have been pointed out to me by other viewers. The problem is now it looks fake, all right? Because it is fake. So now what can you trust? You know, what part of Amber's personality can you trust? Are all of her videos completely staged from point A to point B? Or are just certain parts of them staged? It erodes the viewer's trust, and so it creates, again, a hostile relationship between her and her audience. All right? Now, she could also be using it as a form of creative inspiration, which I think is what happened with the whole toxic gossip train. She saw a bunch of other creators, other big creators, H3H3 being one of them, who were doing covers of this song. What she doesn't understand is why they were doing it and why it was okay when they did it and not when she did it. Again, I have stated this before in the video that this occurred in. I don't care about this person. I don't want to know anything about the person. I don't even remember her damn name. That's how little I want to know about it. But apparently there was some YouTuber who did an apology video, and this was part of the apology video where she was playing a ukulele and singing a song, and this was a verse from the song. Maybe it was the whole damn song. I don't know. I don't care. But it was a poorly received apology. And so apparently other creators were making fun of the apology and the creator who made the apology by ironically remaking the song, all right? And this is a social tactic that you can use in any kind of like cause situation where you can ridicule a behavior or a performance in a way that it raises awareness about it through that ridicule, and by raising that awareness, you bring more focus onto the original performer or the original person. It's a very effective tactic, is what I'm saying. Amber doesn't understand that that's what was happening. This wasn't a bunch of people that thought the song was catchy and they wanted to make their own version of it, which is what Amber did. What was happening was social repercussions for a very poorly put together apology for stuff that was not acceptable on the internet, all right? So, see, I don't even need to know what the fuck it was to be able to take that one apart. Amber didn't catch on to that because I don't think Amber understands that, because Amber doesn't think that deeply about things. She's not stupid. She just doesn't think deeply, okay? She's capable of it. She just doesn't do it. A, I don't think she was ever taught to do it. And B, I don't think she likes doing it because there's too much self-reflection that comes in with that. And Amber does not like to self-reflect. All of those are reasons why she has a poor relationship with her audience. There is a chunk of her audience that she has a good relationship with and who continue to support her. Are they people that are like ride or dies? I don't know. I don't follow her comment section that closely, and she very rarely uses people's names. There's no way for me to easily track that. And if someone else has tracked that, On the one hand, I think you might want a different hobby. And on this hand, I kind of want to know, but I don't want to be enabling this kind of stuff. So, whatevs. I don't know if she has any ride or dies. The only person I'm really aware of that she seems to have a long running relationship with is, I think it's Pink Sparkles. They seem to be, well, she sends her gifts and stuff. It seems to be a back and forth between the two of them, so whatever. I don't know if that's actual friendship or what. I don't know. So that's talking about the social aspect of Amber, all right? And Amber is putting forth of her personal persona, her personal brand, if you will. All right. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and I have a cough drop because my voice is about to go. The next thing I want to talk about is material culture and her consumerism. Material culture is my jam. As an archaeologist, that is what I do. All right. I look at the stuff you have and I put a picture of you together via your stuff. This is why I keep saying I would love to go through a corner of her house and just see what I can find. Not like I want to sit there and see how dirty or filthy or whatever her house is. I want to actually look at her stuff, because her stuff is going to tell me a whole lot more about her than her actual anything else, okay? Because I'm an archaeologist, that's why. That being said, Amber is a consumer. Amber is the epitome of a consumer. If she can't actually consume what she buys large quantities of it and then hoards it. And I don't know, I know there's speculation that she is a hoarder. I don't know, but I do know that she buys large quantities of stuff that it sits in her house, because we've seen the collections post collecting. The things that come to mind for me are the Torrid clothes, for one, her collection of journals. There used to be a whole lot more of those, by the way. I remember those. She used to hoard the Bath and Body candles. I don't know if she still does. She's a huge collector of perfume, specifically for the bottles. And then there's just the random stuff. Like, she recently, during this 15 days, she showed us her giant gallon bags worth of stickers. Really expensive stickers, too, by the way. And her earrings. Infamously, her earrings, okay? So, there's that. These are items that Amber buys and keeps, but not because they're not part of her identity. And I say that because they are never displayed or presented after they've been purchased, okay? With the exception of, like, the clothes, sometimes the earrings, okay? But like those stickers, when was the last time we saw her? I don't think we've ever seen her purchase those large stickers. We've seen her purchase or receive little sticker books, but never those large ones. I take that back. I think there was one where somebody sent her someone sent her stickers, okay? But clearly she's been buying them, because there's giant bags, literal giant bags of them, okay? Her collection of purses. When does she ever use those purses? But yet she's constantly buying purses, you know? The same thing with the Torrid clothes. She has more clothes in that closet. She could literally wear a different outfit for like 3 months and then have run out of clothes, like, without doing laundry, is what I'm saying. Like, she could wear a literal different outfit every day of the week for 3 months probably and not have to do laundry once. All right? These items aren't necessarily her identity. It's not the items themselves. It's the act of purchasing them. Owning them is not the problem. Owning them is not the goal. Purchasing them is. And showing that she has them is important too, because going into the consumerism and the home goods kind of a section, Amber doesn't buy generic, okay? The Legos, I think, are something different happening there. I don't think it's generic versus name brand like she's trying to tell us it is, because she's being too obvious about it. But Amber does not buy generic. She doesn't buy generic house cleaner. She doesn't buy generic food brands. She doesn't buy generic purses. She doesn't buy generic anything, okay? Her laundry detergent and her fabric softeners, they are not generic brands, okay? I don't think I've ever seen her purchase a non-name brand item, all right? This isn't a bad thing. There's a lot of people who swear by certain brands, okay? However, a branded product is often, if not always, more expensive than a store brand or generic brand item, all right? So there's an identity thing that's occurring here. It's not the brand itself, it's the fact that it is a brand. The quality of the product is not the issue. The name of the brand of the object is the thing, all right? It could be a lower quality product. As long as it was a name brand, Amber would purchase that over a generic branded product that was superior. Does that make sense? And this even comes down to the food she consumes. Those, is it Eagle Eye? Those cauliflower popper things she's been eating. What is the name of that brand? I want to say is it Bird's Eye? I think it's Bird's Eye. Anyway, it's not a cheap brand, okay? Those are available where I shop, obviously. I wouldn't buy them just because they're expensive. Well, and they're garbage, but I'm not into that kind of food. But that brand also sells frozen vegetables, and I use a lot of frozen vegetables. I would rather purchase the 10-pound bag of frozen mixed vegetables that's the Wegmans brand than I would purchase a 1-pound bag of Bird's Eye mixed frozen vegetables, okay? Because the price difference is so significant, all right? I can have, 10 times the amount of fresh vegetables for a similar, a competitive, anyway, my point being, name brands are more expensive than generics, is my point. I have the option to buy the brands that she has. I just choose not to, because I would rather save money than show off the brand that I've purchased. That is important to Amber and her identity, all right? The toys are different. I need to break the toys down a little bit more. I don't know if this is the video for that. I might get into it in some of the other videos. Something I was kind of getting close to, but I don't think I really got to it, is the emotional connection with the products and the impact on her mental image of herself. Again, Amber doesn't buy generics because I think Amber, again with the whole Southern accent thing, Amber sees generic products as what poor people use, all right? Probably because that's what she grew up on, honestly. And so she's tried very hard to get herself as far away from those early years of her life as she can get. Understandable. It wasn't a great childhood. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, so it's understandable why she would want to get as far away from it as she could. But part of that distancing is Amber does not buy generic brands. Amber doesn't buy generic anything. So, and she doesn't even buy generic toothpaste or generic deodorant. I don't even think the toothbrushes she buys are generic, all right? But a lot of that is because the ability to purchase and own these more expensive, higher class name brand items gives her that emotional and mental boost that she needs to reassure herself that she is no longer that lower class that she came out of, okay? Personal opinions. Actually, they're my observations. So that's what I think is going on with the consumerism and stuff. We can talk about the actual physical food consumption itself, that goes more towards Amber's very clear addiction to food and her commodification of her body. And that's going to be what we talk about next, actually. I think I've talked about that topic as much as I want to. We will come back to that. Don't worry. But the final thing I want to get to in this video is her body image, the food itself, and how all of that is received by her audience. So it all comes back to the audience, because the audience is everything. In my opinion, Amber is an addict. She is a food addict. She's also a shopaholic, which goes back to the consumerism thing, which is why I think the toys and stuff aren't necessarily identity issues. But even then with the toys, most of the toys that she shows us are some kind of brand of toys, you know? Anyway. Coming back to the food, where was I? I went off track with that, I'm sorry. So coming back to the food. Amber's an addict. Yeah, that's shopaholic. Amber's an addict, and she partakes in her addiction on camera. And just observing her, it is apparent to me that it's not just that she is a food addict, it's that she derives pleasure herself from eating on camera. It's not even that she's creating content for special individuals. It's she herself enjoys the act of being on camera and eating food. It's why she's attracted to the mukbang, because she sees people consuming large amounts of food, usually very decadent foods, very rich foods, those super spicy noodles, or food that's just drenched in cheese, or what are the other ones I see? Oh, there's this one little tiny girl who just eats chocolate. Just all of the chocolate. And there's so much chocolate that I'm just like, just looking at that makes me ill. And she eats it. All right? But that's the point. That's the literal point of the videos. There's also mukbangs of people eating chalk. I don't recommend watching those. I watched one once. I was done. I don't like mukbangs at all. The ones that I've seen have been out of literal morbid curiosity, or they've been something slipped into something else and I couldn't avoid it. All right, so that being said, Amber doesn't understand, again, Amber is mimicking a mukbang. She doesn't get the point of the mukbang. She doesn't understand that there's a point to the amount of food that's being eaten and the type of food that's being eaten. I know I'm giving mukbangs way too much credit, but really, if you break them down, they're very interesting things. Amber just sees people eating large amounts of food. And again, Amber appears to have a disconnect between her actual physical size and what she thinks her physical size is, okay? So when Amber sees these skinny, tiny mukbangers eating large amounts of food, she thinks, oh, I'm not that big. I should be able to eat a lot of food on camera too. So Amber takes away from the mukbang that what I'm supposed to do is eat lots of food on camera. I don't know which ones she's mimicking exactly when she's doing the whole like thing that she does. I can guess, but that's where the accusations of creating special content comes from, is because of the way she acts when she eats the food. All right. She denies that that's what she's doing, but it always comes back to Amber eats on camera. Amber can't go more than a handful of videos before she has to taste test. It always starts off with, let's taste test, and then we'll have a couple few videos of her taste testing, and then she'll want to show us what she's eating on her new diet, and then it'll morph from eating on my new diet to eat with me's, and then it'll morph into a full-on mukbang at some point, all right? It's because Amber enjoys eating for the camera, all right? It's not because she knows that those videos are her most watched videos. They are. It's a nice side effect. But for her, the pleasure comes from eating the food for the camera. You guys catching? Right? I'm not even trying to be like metaphorical or whatever. Like, she literally enjoys eating while the camera watches her. She would probably enjoy being in that particular group of adults, right? I think she might be called out for this regardless of her size if she was still doing a lifestyle vlog like this and then would have these segments in her lifestyle vlog. Like, I still think she would get accused of creating special content. But the fact that she is 600 pounds and acknowledges that she has an addiction to food and is struggling to lose weight and then does a mukbang, now her audience is having the disconnect again because her actions are not aligning with what she says she wants to do. Again, this is addict behavior. This is, I mean, when people who are truly addicted to something and they say, I'm going to stop, or I want to stop, or this time, I'm not going to smoke any cigarettes this time. This time, I'm going to hide my cigarettes and my lighters and all the ashtrays. I'm not going to smoke a single cigarette. And then, like, an hour later, it's the last one. It's the last one. It's never the last one, okay? The actions don't line up with desire because the ability to not do it is there. This is personal experience, by the way. Maybe y'all have a different experience, but that's how it went down, and they still smoke. I don't smoke, they do. Anyway, along with this mukbang adult content creation comes the commodification and monetization of her own body. Amber has multiple occasions admitted that this is what she does, and she believes, obviously, that she should be the only one who benefits from that. She should be the only one who is allowed to expose her body, to eat on camera. She should be the only one who's making any profit off of that. That's a whole other conversation. I am of the opinion if you put it on the internet, you have no control over it anymore. So be careful what you put on the internet, because it's forever. And if people don't like you, they will find a way to use it against you. So there's that. But the problem of her being an addict and indulging in her addiction on camera in the way that she does, as a way of raising money and monetization, granted, it's her job, it's going into her pocket, it is her body, and as long as she stays within terms of service, she's not breaking any rules, okay? But those aren't ethics, okay? That's not the ethics discussion that most people who are criticizing her have. There are some people who are just like, you're fat. Fat people shouldn't eat on camera because fat people eating on camera is gross. Well, dude, change the channel. It's fine. There are more videos on YouTube than you will be able to watch in 5 lifetimes. Find something else. All right? There are, in my opinion, valid criticisms about how ethical it is for her to be displaying that behavior on a platform, any platform, where the audience is so widely varied. All right? Yes, YouTube has new safety whatevers in place to, like, keep kids from watching videos that aren't made for them. Because none of us have ever clicked the yes, I'm 18 button. Alright, when we weren't 18, none of us ever did that growing up. How to put this? So the argument is, because there's a chance that this could be exposed to people underage, and also that a lot of her audience falls into the younger side of the demographics, that this is irresponsible behavior to be displaying to people who might be very influenced by said behavior, especially when she then turns around and starts spouting fat acceptance rhetoric without claiming fat acceptance. I know it when I hear it, guys. I know a dog whistle, all right? She paints this picture of, it's okay, you can do this. Look at me. I do it. Nothing bad's happening to me. I'm 600 pounds and I'm eating as much food as I can get my hands on in one sitting. It's fine. That to me is not something you should do. You know, you have a responsibility to your audience to put your best foot forward and not teach your audience to do things that would hurt them in the future. But you have to, like in Amber's case, you have to believe that being 600 pounds and eating a crap ton of food is inherently unhealthy or harmful. I don't think she does. I think she says it, but I don't think she believes it. Chat, for whatever reason, thought that that Amber had sponsorships. I had to inform it that no, and it was like, oh, all right. And so it was a little confused after that, but we got back to the topic. It's funny what will confuse AI and what won't. Right. All right. I think that's everything. The things that I wanted to cover for days 1 through 5. I hope you guys enjoy this. I've tried to warn you all that this is kind of boring. And even more so with me sitting in my car yelling at my camera for it. But if you've made it this far, please put a gold star down in the comments section. Gold star emoji down in the comments section. Again, if you need me to clarify something, or if I may have gotten distracted and forgot to complete a thought, entirely possible. Go ahead and ask me about it down in the comments section. You are completely welcome to disagree with me all you want. These are my observations and my analysis based on said observations. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to say. I don't. All right, so this is the end of the first video of the Anthropologist Analyzes 15 Days of Uploading by Amberlynn Reid, and I have the second one planned. I'm not recording it today. Today is not the day for recording, apparently. If you've made it this far, again, gold star down in the comments section. Leave comments down in the comment section. Be sure to like and subscribe. Liking is very important to the algorithm. Subscribing just helps me get closer to getting AdSense. And yeah, all of that being said, I will see you all in the next one.